Losing money costs you nothing. This is just the reality of life. You're gonna, like, were you young and dumb? How much money did you lose? Everyone loses money. Everyone loses money. It costs you nothing. In fact, it builds quite a bit of character. In fact, you learn a lot of lessons, actually, by losing money. It's bloody Black Monday. Holy moly. The Kamala crash is here. Kamala needs to get in front of a camera today. People are losing their homes today. People are losing their fortunes today. People are losing their futures today. People are losing their 401ks today. This is shaping up to be one of the worst market days in American history. Losing money costs you nothing. This is just the reality of life. You're gonna, like, were you young and dumb? How much money did you lose? Everyone loses money. Everyone loses money. It costs you nothing. In fact, it builds quite a bit of character. In fact, you learn a lot of lessons, actually, by losing money.
We're all in deep, deep shit. Good morning. Rise in freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. Friends of the show, you know what to do. Click that like button. Let's hit it. Support the Wake Up America show with a simple click of the like. We'd be glad to have you become a regular guest if today is your first time watching the Wake Up America show. This is not a sycophant show. This is not a show that tells people what they want to hear for the purpose of monetization. This is a show with a man who has a conscience, who has a heart, who has a family, who has a future, who loves this country and will do the right thing at great personal cost. You're in a place where patriotism is at the center of our universe. Global markets convulsing as sweeping new tariffs went into effect, and China retaliated, setting up Wall Street for another tense session. Taking center stage, of course, was the sell-off of U.S. Treasuries. That's bad. The yield on the 10-year note, which is the reference point for trillions of dollars in loans and securities, was recently at 4.44 to rising as high as 4.47. Investors say there is broad nervousness about holding longer-term treasuries ahead of government auctions on Wednesday and Thursday. Trump's reciprocal tariffs on nearly 100 nations took effect overnight, including a 104% tariff on Chinese imports. Now, on Wednesday, Beijing said today, they're going to raise levies on our imports from 84% to 34%. Now, if there were any confusion about who is in charge and whether or not the states have any power over the federal government, and let it be known that you are all simply just agents or tools of the federal government.
For it, I think it's something that you should work on. You should go out and put a bill in demanding. You demand, because the states are just an agent of the federal government, of you. You're to demand paper ballots. You're to demand one-day elections. You know what they do when it's longer than one day? All of a sudden, well, we're fixing the room up. Move those boxes. We're putting an air conditioner. Oh, really? We'll move for it. I think it's something that you...
In the years since President Trump's first trade war with China, Beijing has actually been building. They've been preparing for this. We are learning now. Beijing has actually built up an arsenal of tools to use against us, and they're now getting ready to display those tools in full. On Wednesday, China said it would increase tariffs on all U.S. imports to 84%, the response to the new tariffs on Chinese imports of 104%. But China's options don't end there. While Trump is focused on tariffs as his trade weapon of choice, China's strategy goes well beyond imposing its own levies, relying on the lure of the Chinese market for U.S. companies. A central thread running through its calculus is how to inflict hardship on companies that bank on their ties with the world's second largest economy. Well on their way to become the first if we continue these policies. Oh, damn, Austin, how dare you? I'm for America first. These policies are not America first. The tools that Beijing has, they've already used, and they're likely to expand, include export controls of critical materials that American companies use to make chips and defense-related products, regulatory investigations designed to intimidate and penalize U.S. companies, and blacklists intended to bar U.S. businesses from selling to China. In addition, authorities are preparing new ways to pressure American companies to give up their crown jewels, which is intellectual property, or lose access to the Chinese market. All in the backdrop of Elon Musk posting videos like these on X.
In any event, I'm not in favor of fairness. I'm in favor of freedom. And freedom is not fairness. Fairness means somebody has to decide what's fair. And that means the FCC people have to decide what's fair. I don't want the FCC people to decide for me what I should listen to or hear. And you wouldn't be able, if the public at large didn't agree with your choices, you'd be out of business.
Yeah, well.
So you know, it's a funny thing. People think that it's the appearance of power versus the reality of power. It looks like as if you have a lot of power over what you put on your shelf, but you don't.
Really?
Because if you didn't appeal to the public, if these people didn't like you, do a marvelous job. I'm not questioning that. But you do a marvelous job because you have found an audience for your product.
So in other words, my power comes from the people, as you're saying.
Absolutely.
And if I just put on all of my favorites, then the public will clearly see that Donahue was sold out and their eye.
Look, I've been reading your book. It's a good book, and I recommend it to you just as he recommended mine. But in that book, you point out the difficulties you had getting into New York.
Yeah.
Suppose you had had to have government permission to go into New York. Do you think you would have had it any easier? Do you think you could have had as much independence as you've had?
Mm-hmm. And under the Friedman laissez-faire broadcasting system, there would have been more opportunities for this from Dayton, Ohio to get into New York.
Absolutely.
You know what? We're renaming the For Liberty Network to the Friedman laissez-faire broadcasting system. Who's down? Let's do it.
Have had as much independence as you've had?
Mm-hmm. And under the Friedman laissez-faire broadcasting system, there would have been more opportunities for this from Dayton, Ohio to get into New York.
Absolutely. There would have been more stations.
Yes.
There would have been, instead of 3 big networks, you would have had a much broader group of stations. You would have been able to break in much sooner.
People just don't
I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it was.
Yeah. Good for you, Uncle Milton. Wait, I just came up with a banger tweet I'm posting right now. America needs Milton Friedman. Who's with me? Maybe a few banger tweets coming out of the show this morning. There's a bit of a rift in the White House between White House economic advisor Peter Navarro and Elon Musk. The war of words has escalated as Navarro says that, what does Elon Musk know? Elon has been saying that we need free trade, at least with Europe. And Navarro has come out and called him a car assembler, which got Elon to respond to him, calling him Peter Retardo. Tesla has the most American-made cars. Navarro is dumber than a sack of bricks in response to this interview.
When it comes to tariffs and trade, we all understand in the White House, and the American people understand, that Elon's a car manufacturer. But he's not a car manufacturer. He's a car assembler in many cases. If you go to his Texas plant, a good part of the engines that he gets, which in the EV case is the batteries, come from Japan and come from China. The electronics come from Taiwan. The tires come. What we want, and the difference is in our thinking and Elon's on this, is that we want the tires made in Akron. We want the transmissions made in Indianapolis. We want the engines made in Flint and Saginaw, and we want the cars manufactured here. It's like this business model where BMW and Mercedes come in to Spartanburg, South Carolina, and have us assemble German engines. Our economics, it's bad for our national security. We want them to come here. And with Elon, it's fine. He's a car man. He's a car person. That's what he does. And he wants the cheap foreign parts, and we understand that.
He's the most, what a retard. Who is this Peter Navarro? Boo! Fire this man. This is a poison. Peter Navarro is a cancer on this nation, and Donald Trump needs to fire him immediately. Do you know who this guy is? Let me tell you something about Peter Navarro, right? So this guy is a 75-year-old American economist. He's currently serving as the senior counselor for trade and manufacturing. He started this job. He's known for his stances on trade, like you've just heard right here, being a stiff protectionist with tariffs, right? He's one of the few officials that Trump brought back for the second term. So this is a sign of the president's trust in him. He holds a PhD in economics from Harvard University. Cringe. As we all know, the words of the great Thomas Sowell, wherever there is any chaos in the United States, it is certain that a man from Harvard is in the middle of it. Wherever there is some trouble for the American people, there's definitely a Harvard man behind it. He spent much of his career as a professor at the University of California, Irvine. Now, this is where you might start shaking your head back and forth like this. He taught economics and public policy for over 2 decades. Now, I want you to listen to this. Here he is.
But my point here is this, they're coming now and saying, we want to talk, we'll lower our tariffs to zero if you lower your tariffs. That's not the problem. Vietnam is a great example, Laura. They sell us $15 for every one we sell them. Zero tariffs would get us no reduction in the $123 billion deficit we have. And 5 of that $15 they sell us, you know what? It's China. It's that clip you showed about Cambodia, how China just comes over.
Thing, right?
It's the same kind of, we call it transshipping. It's just crazy. But my point here is
this is Peter Navarro, right? The guy who's in charge of trade, currently in a war of words with Elon Musk.
But my point here is
the market might turn around.
When
do you think the market might turn around?
It's finding a bottom now. But look, here's the thing. It's going to shift over, and it's going to be companies in the S&P 500 who are the first to produce here. Those are the ones going to lead the recovery. And it's going to happen. Dow 50,000, I guarantee that. And I guarantee no recession, okay? Why? Because when we pass the biggest, broadest tax cut in history within a matter of months, that's going to be a great stimulus. There's not going to be any inflation.
They're talking about, and by the way, they are actually literally talking about raising the top marginal tax rate in this country. They are considering raising income taxes on top of all of these taxes, which is definitely not what we voted for. Now, Peter Navarro's reputation among economists is contentious. His academic background, his PhD, decades as a professor, give him a lot of credibility on paper. Sounds good, right? But his policy positions have always drawn sharp criticism from the field. Navarro's protectionism has never, ever, once in history, ever been proven to be effective. His advocacy for tariffs is disaster. Economists like Thomas Sowell have warned as early as 3 days ago that Trump's tariffs could spark a global trade war, which we are currently in, or even a depression. Now, Navarro's methods have raised eyebrows. In his book, Death by China, he invented a fictional economist named Ron Vera, an anagram of Navarro, to bolster his arguments, meaning he lied. He bullshitted us, right? I mean, it's unprofessional and it's dishonest. He made an economist out of thin air that didn't exist, thinking that people wouldn't figure it out, using the anagram of his last name. And this is the man who is supposed to be in charge of trade at the White House. He is a damaged goods political ideologue, not a serious scholar. His claim that Tesla is merely a car assembler was debunked, showing Tesla's vehicles like the Model 3 source 75% of their parts, not 100% of their parts, by the way, from the United States or Canada, making the Teslas the most American-made cars that there are, according to the Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Now, Navarro's feud with Musk centers on Trump's sweeping new tariffs. Musk, of course, is the head of Doge. Doge needs to take a look into Navarro. Musk called Navarro dumber than a sack of bricks, a moron, and even Peter Retardo. Now, Navarro is a longtime Democrat. He was a registered Democrat, ran for office multiple times in San Diego, California as a progressive. He made several unsuccessful bids for public office, including a 1992 run for mayor of San Diego, where he advanced to a runoff but lost with 48% of the vote. During this period, listen to this, Navarro positioned himself as anti-development, no growth advocate, founding an organization called Prevent Los Angelesization Again, or Now, to oppose urban sprawl. He also ran for city council, county supervisor, and Congress consistently on a platform that leaned left on issues like environmental protection and taxing the rich. Posts on X and some web sources highlight Navarro's past admiration for Hillary Clinton, noting that he supported her in the 1990s and, of course, ran as a Clinton Democrat in his campaigns. His progressive streak makes him later pivot to Trump's camp seem jarring, but it's not inconsistent when you consider his long-standing skepticism of global trade. Even as a Democrat, Navarro was critical of free trade agreements like NAFTA, which he saw as harmful to American workers, a view that, of course, later aligned with Trump's protectionist rhetoric. America needs Milton Friedman more than ever.
But when the Germans come here, we
So
don't
what's
do
going to
anything
happen
stop it.
when the Germans or the EU comes to the table and say, we'll drop our tariffs? Trump's going to say no deal.
Here's what he's going to say. He's going to say, look, tariffs, why do you have a 19% VAT tax? Why have we sued you for 3 decades trying to get our agriculture and our beef?
Pause. This is why Elon calls him Peter Retardo. So even if the EU says, let's tariff the let's drop our tariffs on the United States, what is he going to say?
He's going to say, look, tariffs, why do you have a 19% VAT tax?
Okay, pause. All right. So in the United States, we don't have a VAT tax, right? It would be the equivalent of having like a federal tax, right? We have an income tax, of course, but we don't have a national, it would be like a federal sales tax, right? But here's the thing. Europe has to pay that too. That's a tax on their own people, right? And here's the thing. If you go to Europe and if you land in the airport, they actually have a VAT tax refund. If you're not from Europe, you can go and get a refund on your VAT tax. A VAT tax is not a tariff. It's a sales tax, and Europeans have to pay that tax. It's not unfortunate to us that Europeans have to pay a European tax any more than it's unfortunate to Americans that we have to pay a federal income tax. But the equivalent of this would be if we had a federal sales tax. And if the economy continues to be disturbed in such a way as it is, don't be surprised if we move away from talk of raising top marginal income tax rates to Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump teaming up to advance a federal sales tax in the same vein as well. Now, in the beef between Peter Navarro and Elon Musk, you guys know I got Elon Musk back on this one. Hell yeah. But I actually really loved the way that the White House press secretary responded to questions from the press about the fight between Navarro and Musk.
Peter Navarro on some of these tariffs. Musk actually referred to Navarro today as being, quote, dumber than a sack of bricks. Are you at all, or is the administration, the president, all concerned that this is maybe impacting the public's understanding of these tariffs? It might be messing with the message on it?
No, look, these are obviously 2 individuals who have very different views on trade and on tariffs. Boys will be boys, and we will let their public sparring continue. And you guys should all be very grateful that we have the most transparent administration in history. And I think it also speaks to the president's willingness to hear from all sides, that he has people at the highest levels of this government in this White House who have very diverse opinions on very diverse issues, but the president takes all opinions in mind, and then he makes the best decision based on the best interests of the American public. Deanna.
You know what? Great answer. Love that answer. Who wants to unlock the bonus content today? Yeah? Who supports free trade, huh? Thank God Rumble's working today. Drop some Rumble rants in the chat if you want to unlock today's bonus content. Our little Lego mini documentaries have been a huge hit. People really love watching the little Lego mini documentaries. Actually, we posted the one that we made about Javier Milei and how, God, we need Javier Milei in this country. God, we need Javier really so bad. And apparently Javier Milei is also being harmed by this, like with his IMF loan. It's a long story. I don't want to get wonky here right now, but these tariffs are hurting more than just Americans. They're hurting friends of the United States as much as enemies, right? The enemies have grown shields to try and prepare for these kinds of assaults against the United States. Our allies are not prepared for these kinds of attacks from their allies in the United States. It's a different scenario and different people get harmed in different ways. But I swear to God, if Javier Milei gets hamstrung because of this, I'm coming after every MAGA leftist that I can, and I will never let them get a wink of sleep ever again. I will be so annoying. I will be like the Patrick Swayze character in Ghost singing to Whoopi Goldberg. I'm Henry VIII, I am. Henry VIII, I am. I will haunt your graves. I will haunt your family. I will haunt your homes. Henry VIII, I am. I got married to the widow next door. She's been married 7 times before, and everyone was an Henry. Wouldn't have a Willie over a Sam. No, Sam, I'm the 8th old man. I'm Henry. Henry VIII, I am. Second verse, same as the first. Support the Wake Up America show, guys. Drop some Rumble rants or go to the For Liberty shop. And if you support free trade, buy yourself a box of that delicious Founding Flavors coffee. Look at that. Oh, baby.
Can you bless me with something?
Oh, gosh.
Oh, gosh.
Money-wise. Please.
Support the Wake Up America show, guys, and do us a favor and visit the forlibertyshop.com store. When you buy a box of Founding Flavors coffee, you're not only supporting our free trade, you're also supporting a freedom-loving American family. That coffee, by the way, not made in Hawaii. And if you think regular coffee is expensive, just wait until you see what it costs when it comes from Hawaii, if you can get it. But I announce a 50% tariff on Hawaii.
Dumber than a sack of bricks. That was so dumber than a sack of bricks. That was so unfair to bricks. I mean,
well, Navarro, first of all, if I were going to start a business, I would call Elon. That's number one. Number two, Navarro was wrong. Teslas, he was insulting Teslas. And Teslas are the most American-made car.
Yeah, we can put that up.
And it's like one of the great American automotive manufacturing success stories. And so to go on and so obviously he insulted Elon's cars unfairly. Elon responded. I'm not such a global phenomenon. Elon is. He's into so many things, whether it's cars or space or the internet. I mean, you name it, he's everywhere. And so I think attacks like this were unavoidable. But I think the net positive of having him involved, both in the campaign and in the government, is undeniable. And obviously, he's leaving soon. I mean, he's long said he's going to be here on a temporary basis.
No!
I think very temporary now.
Well, look, but that was all.
No! Boo! Elon! 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 We want Elon! We want Elon!
That was always the plan, and I just think the relentless attacks on him, both from inside some people who support the president and from outside, have frankly been unfair. I think he's a patriotic American. I think he's given up his time and his treasure and his trouble to elect someone and try to make him successful.
Patriotic immigrant to America.
Absolutely.
Right? All right.
Yeah, damn right. Speaking of lunch, we now have Milton Friedman. There ain't no such thing as a free lunch bag. Yes, no kidding. There ain't no such thing as a free lunch Milton Friedman lunch bag. Stephanie made that, by the way. Thank you, Stephanie. We appreciate you very much. If you go to forlibertyshop.com and you're looking for something ironic, a little hilarious, you can get there ain't no such thing as a free lunch Milton Friedman lunch bag. The For Liberty shop relies on the basis of international trade. It was a plan for me to begin to, of course, to manufacture things in my home, which I do. We do have some items that are manufactured in the United States, including my little ultra MAGA Donald Trump silky Buddha. Beautiful. Nice little things. We make a good margin on those. The problem, of course, with selling something like this, a tchotchke like this, is that while you get a good profit margin on it, once someone buys one, they have it and they don't need to come back to you for more. So that's why Stephanie and I stepped up our game and we started to invest our time and our energy, which, by the way, is our money, right? Of course, there's nothing more valuable. There's the one thing more valuable than money, of course, is time. And you might as well just think about money as time, because that's essentially what you're trading. Jeffersonian Java being our number one seller, the light roast, Colombian brands of coffee. They come from overseas. You're probably not drinking Hawaiian coffee every day. You're probably, if you're drinking the cheapest brand of coffee that's on the market, you're probably drinking something that is a blend from all over the world, like Paraguay, Chile, and all over the map. And of course, we also have single origin roast. People like to taste the bean as it is, pure, without it being blended. And of course, we do have those kinds of coffees. If you go to forlibertyshop.com this morning and you want to support the show and unlock the bonus content, what I recommend you do, if you really want to have a fun time, is to put a couple of these delicious boxes of coffee, which you can see over time has given us excellent reviews in terms of the quality of our coffee. Franklin's Electric Elixir looks to be actually Patriotic Perk as well. Check out our For Liberty shop and put a couple of boxes of coffee, ground or whole bean, into your cart. And then while you're there, type in Milton Friedman. Stephanie made this beautiful design yesterday. We have a lunch bag, we have a Tanstaffel shirt, and a Tanstaffel mug. There's no such thing as a free lunch. So put a couple of Milton Friedman items in your cart. And then, of course, the Milton Friedman lunch bag, which I think is just, there ain't no such thing as a free lunch bag. Available exclusively at forlibertyshop.com. That's the number 4, libertyshop.com. Stephanie, well done. Everybody say thanks, Steffi. We love you. There ain't no such thing as a free lunch bag. I have to say that that's probably the most clever thing that I've seen in a long time. Don't forget to, of course, click the like button. And if you'd like to have your voice heard on the Wake Up America show, you can send us a text at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586 is the text line. I love hearing from people night or day, anytime, at the phone lines. You can text again at 573-319-1586.
They're coming now and saying, we want to talk, we'll lower our tariffs to 0 if you lower your tariffs. That's not the problem. Vietnam is a great example, Laura. They sell us $15 for every one we sell them. 0 tariffs would get us no reduction in the $123 billion deficit we have. And 5 of that $15 they sell us, you know what? It's China. It's that clip you showed about Cambodia, how China's just
the same
comes over.
thing, right?
It's the same kind of, we call it transshipping. It's just.
So here's the thing that people don't understand about the deficit. The deficit involves a deficit of trade where we are sending out dollars. Remember, we're the reserve currency of the world. A deficit is guaranteed. Like these people, the economic voodoo practitioners, they are saying that we need to reduce trade deficits or we won't have a trade surplus, right? The problem, of course, is that the United States is the reserve currency. So we're always going to have a deficit because everybody's going to want to seek dollars. And in exchange for these little green pieces of paper that we give them, now just digital ones and zeros, they send us goods and services. You know, they send us incredible products that we can use in our homes that make our lives better and more every day. Remember, this Peter Navarro guy, he is a degrowth economist. Degrowth, right? I don't care if you are a big tariff supporter or if if you thought that maybe we should have voted for what's his name, old Ross Perot back in the days. Even in that level, why would you ever support someone who's campaigned on degrowth? Right? An environmentalist, progressive, degrowth Democrat. Like literally the worst of the worst when it comes to big government, so Harvard-educated, anti-American socialists. What is wrong with this guy? Peter Navarro says that he expects a country that has $400 billion GDP and a 4,000 GDP per capita, right? We're talking about Vietnam here, to purchase $130 billion of $75,000 Cadillacs from us. Okay, so we produced a $75,000 Cadillac, and he expects Vietnam to buy a $75,000. Remember, their total GDP is $400 billion total, and then they're going to buy $130 billion worth of Cadillacs from us. This is just lunacy. There's no offense, but.
It sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
God, we need Milton Friedman. Well, you know what? We at least have? We at least have the son of Ron Paul. Can we get a shout out for Rand Paul these days?
How did we all get here? I mean, the whole debate is so fundamentally backwards and upside down. It's based on a fallacy. And the fallacy is this, that somehow in a trade, someone must lose. That somehow when you trade with someone, there's a loser and someone's taking advantage of you and China's ripping you off or Japan's ripping you off. It's absolutely a fallacy. Every trade that occurs in the marketplace is mutually beneficial. If you have a free society and I trade with you, if you want to sell me your coat and I give you $200 for it, we both agree to it and we're both happy with the trade. No American consumer trades with China. They trade with Walmart, or they may buy something from China, but they individually buy something they want and they make a decision. The trade is always a win-win. Now, you could argue.
You don't trade with China, you trade with Walmart.
Officially do this accounting between countries and say, oh, trade deficit, look at this trade deficit. But I have a trade deficit with my grocery store. The people who employ me, if I work for Corvette and they employ me, they have a trade deficit with my labor. They buy my labor and I never buy their cars. So you can have this artificial accounting and it makes it look like a bad thing, but you have to ask yourself, is trade good or bad? And if you look at the trade deficit, in times of a recession, the trade deficit goes down. So if the tariffs push us into a recession, we could reduce the trade deficit because we're all buying less stuff. We have to get back to the fundamentals of, is trade good or is trade bad?
Damn right it's good. It's a good thing. And booed anyone who disagrees. It's just crazy because Stephanie and I watched Animal Farm. She had never seen it before. And do you know what the one unforgivable sin was? There were several rules that the communist pigs put out on the Animal Farm once they took over from Manor Farm and turned it into Animal Farm. If anybody can remember their George Orwell. Before the pig, Old Major, died, or Karl Marx, if you will, before he died, or Lenin maybe. I know that the Napoleon, I think, was supposed to be Stalin. But I think Old Major was either Marx or Lenin. But before Old Major the pig died and stirred up the revolution and told the animals to revolt, he says that he put out a whole bunch of rules for everybody to follow. No alcohol, no sleeping in beds. Everybody remember reading Animal Farm in their middle school or high school classes. That there are no animals sleeping in beds, no smoking cigarettes, no alcohol. But there was one unforgivable sin. One unforgivable sin. Can anybody drop a note in the chat? First one wins 1 million internet points. If you can remember what it was that Old Major the pig in George Orwell's Animal Farm said was the one thing that you must never do, which of course the pigs did themselves, because some pigs, of course, were more equal than others. 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. Yes, okay, L-dubs, yes, remember? What was the one thing that Old Major said we must never do? But then, of course, once some pigs became more equal than others, then it was okay to do, right? What was the one thing? Walking on 2 legs was bad. Yeah, that was right. That's true. But it wasn't the one major thing that they must never, ever do. The one great sin. I'm going to give you guys another 30 seconds here. We're going to play the Squid Game while we wait. There. Putting the toilet roll paper on backwards? No, Dad mod. Pineapple on pizza? No. 4 legs good, 2 legs better? No. Question the rules? Nope. It's been too long since you read this, guys. If you don't have time to read, it may be time to go take another 2 hours and go watch. I would recommend the cartoon, although the live action version wasn't bad, of Animal Farm. The one unforgivable sin from the communists was trade.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie.
Trade was the one evil sin that the communists said. And of course, then once things started to get bad around Animal Farm, once things didn't improve, after they threw off the farmers and took over Manor Farm and turned it into Animal Farm and set down the rules, and of course the rules started to change. But then, of course, one of the most important rules after the trade was that all pigs are equal, all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others, which meant that Napoleon and Snowball and the other animals. I think Snowball was Trotsky, and they chased him off after they tried to build the windmill. But yeah, it was that some animals were more equal than others because, of course, they needed the milk for the pigs. Right? Once things started to get bad after they took over, they said, okay, well, the milk, we need it for our brains because the pigs are thinkers, right? Remember the horse who was the worker who always supported Napoleon, aka Stalin, right? They wondered why they weren't getting any more of the milk, why the milk wasn't making its way around to all of the animals. Well, remember, the milk had to go to the pigs because the pigs, of course, needed the milk because they're the thinkers. And you wanted the thinkers, the people who were in charge of society, you wanted them, of course, to be able to have access to the important nutrition so that they could, be good leaders, right? And of course, and so on and so on and so on. Real Science Questions knows Animal Farm says, yes, he was Trotsky. Snowball was Trotsky. They chased him out. And of course, we all know how Stalin treated him. This is the top trade minister in the administration.
It was interesting to hear Elon Musk at the beginning talk about a zero tariff zone with Europe. He doesn't understand that. And the thing that's, I think, important about Elon to understand, he sells cars. That's what he does. And if you look, for example, at the Tesla factories in Texas, they're assembly plants, and they get a lot of their content from China, Mexico, Japan, and Taiwan, and elsewhere.
He is such a liar. This is such a lie. I mean, 75% manufactured in the United States. The most American-made cars. Let's give it up for Elon Musk. If you guys don't like this content, at least give a like for Elon. Elon could save our country if he continues to fight the good fight and stays in the fight and keeps saying what he's saying right now, because right now Elon Musk seems to be the only one standing in our way from people like this. And the grifters on the right, these grifters on the right, disgusting behavior from those who have called themselves proud conservatives. Boo to all of these grifters who believe in nothing, they stand in nothing. They collect checks for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some of them, notably, collected hundreds of thousands of dollars of Russian rubles recently to tell you what they think that you want to hear in order to manipulate you into buying this communist horseshit. It's Animal Farm. It's bullshit. And it's going to bring the Democrats into power again. And the Democrats will double down on this. They will say, they will take this President AOC will be our new FDR. And what will they do? Of course, it will be an even new. What will it be? Instead of a New Deal, it'll be a Green New Deal. Thank you to those who just went over to forlibertyshop.com. Made a purchase over at the shop to support free trade. We appreciate you very much. Thank you for supporting economic freedom and personal liberty, unlike these clowns. Oh my God, dude. Rat poison. Rat poison. It's just a shame. Everything was going really well. Everything was going great. Why couldn't he have done something insane like abolishing the income tax? Our economy would be roaring right now. We would be the envy of the world. We are destroying the goose that lays the golden egg. It is our comparative advantage that people trust in the United States so much that we can literally give them pieces of paper and they will give us their valuable lithium. They will give us products. They will give us goods and services and softwares, digital downloads, ivermectin, horse paste, all that you can eat, MAGA. All the ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine that you can stomach. All that you would like, right? I can't wait. I need a pharmaceutical sponsor right now for ivermectin hydroxychloroquine. There you go. Take that as a colonic. Rat poison colonoscopy. What do you say? Great message? Even better message?
Just heard, I don't know if you heard Art Laffer in the prior interview, but Art doesn't believe that the trade deficit should be a metric. I don't really either. I mean, Mr. Secretary, if you get your tax cuts, and I guess you're well on the way, you get your deregulation. These are all huge pro-growth items. Okay. we will grow. We, the United States, will grow faster than Japan. We will grow faster than almost anybody. Therefore, almost by definition, by growing faster than the rest of the world, we're always going to have a trade deficit. So I don't know why you'd want to use the trade deficit in a calculation for a reciprocal charge. I understand your point about non-tariff barriers. I get that. That's why I would have chosen a handful of countries, I don't know, maybe 10 or a dozen countries, and really carefully pinpointed it. But to apply this to the whole world on the basis of trade deficits, is that really the best in your judgment? You've been around a long time. You've looked at these. You've done analysis. Is that really where we should be at?
Well, look, Larry, the trade deficit, as you and Art know, is a result of three things. It's a result of the terms of trade, it's a result of our budget deficit, and it's the result of the level of the dollar. And
this is Scott Bessent, big George Soros protege there, right, when it comes to tariffs. And of course, I don't know if any of you have any Donald Trump merchandise, but I actually do have a Donald Trump tie. You'll never believe where it's made.
As a line of clothing. Now, where were these made?
These were made, I don't know where they were made, but they were made someplace. But they're great. It's ties, shirts, cufflinks, everything sold at Macy's, and they're doing great. #1 selling tie anywhere in the world.
#1 selling tie anywhere in the world. You wouldn't wear that shirt?
We also have them in white and beautiful white.
Where are the shirts made? Bangladesh.
Well, that's good. Okay. We employ people in Bangladesh.
Ties? Where are the ties
they
made?
Have to work
These are
too.
beautiful ties.
They are great ties.
The ties are made in where? China? Ties are made in China.
Nice. Yeah. So it's okay for you to get rich. It's okay for you to use the system to get rich and then pull the ladder up from the rest of us, right? I'm sorry, but I'm just... No, you see, if you want a load of bullshit, if you want somebody gaslighting you, you watch shows like these. This is what you watch.
Losing money costs you nothing. This is just the reality of life.
This is what people want, by the way.
Young and dumb. How much money did you lose?
People do not want, until the pain comes to you, and it's coming. It's coming to all of you. You think they're saying it's eat the rich, occupy Wall Street, we're going to go after the big banks and all this kind of stuff. The pain is coming to you all. It's coming to you at the grocery store. It's coming to you at the car dealerships. It's coming to you at your fast food joints. It's coming to wherever you like to go shopping, farmer's market, what have you, up, down. And you're saying the gasoline's going down. The oil's going to go down. That means gas is going to go down, right? Yeah, and once it hits a certain point, all of the oil and gas workers, they start capping. They start capping them because it doesn't make sense to continue to drill, baby, drill. When the oil goes below a certain value, then they start laying off the oil workers. But the pain is coming. The pain is coming. And this is what the people who are supporting this retardation, this is the kind of shit that they're eating. This is the slop that these MAGA leftists, these communist, socialist pieces of garbage, this is what they are cooking up for you. And not you, the listeners of this show. Most of you are not economic illiterates, I imagine. There might be a few out there. I mean, so if you are and you're here, right, and it feels like I'm being harsh, right, just remember that this is tough love and we do not want bad things to happen to you. We're all enduring the fact that we're hearing now that this is deliberate pain that is being enacted, right? Today is the anniversary of the surrender of Robert E. Lee at Appomattox. Let me tell you a story. Robert E. Lee goes to Appomattox at the courthouse and surrenders to General Grant. General Grant quiets his soldiers when they start to cheer for the end of the war because he says he did not wish for these who were our countrymen to see us glee or delight in their downfall. And yet these MAGA leftists, these red hat MAGA communists are cheering for the downfall of the fellow Americans. Now, Trump is not supposed to represent solely the interests of the victims of the public education system in this country, aggrieved though they may be. He is to represent all of Americans, all of us, not just people like this.
This is just the reality of life. Were you young and dumb? How much money did you lose? Everyone loses money. Everyone loses money. It costs you nothing. In fact, it builds quite a bit of character. In fact, you learn a lot of lessons actually by losing money.
Nintendo said explicitly that the price of the Switch 2 would go up and that they were delaying the launch of the game console because of the tariffs, Mighty Megatron. You might want to check your facts there.
Losing money costs you nothing.
Losing money costs you nothing?
This is just the
This is
reality
what you guys
of life.
sound like when you're advocating for this
Were you
stuff.
young and dumb? How much money did you lose? Everyone loses money.
Oh, we don't need Milton Friedman or Thomas Sowell. We need Benny Johnson and degrowth Democrat Peter Navarro to run things.
Everyone loses money. It costs you nothing. In fact, it builds quite a bit of character. In fact, you learn a lot of lessons, actually, by losing money. It's bloody Black Monday. Holy moly.
Oh, wow.
The Kamala crash is here. Kamala needs to get in front of a camera today. People are losing their homes today. People are losing their fortunes today. People are losing their futures today. People are losing their 401ks today. This is shaping up to be one of the worst market days in American history. Losing money costs you nothing. This is just the reality of life. You're gonna, like, were you young and dumb? How much money did you lose? Everyone loses money. Everyone loses money. It costs you nothing. In fact, it builds quite a bit of character. In fact, you learn a lot of lessons, actually, by losing money.
Learn a lot of lessons. We learn a lot of lessons. America doesn't seem to be learning its lessons. It's a shame that we have to live in a country where a public education system has inflicted upon us a suicidal, homicidal band of people who will take us all down with this ship out of their own envy, their own class envy. Because their lives are miserable, it must be someone else's fault. Right? They don't understand the zero-sum fallacy of economy. And I'm just, you know what? There are some blessings out there. And I got to say, big shout out to Ted Cruz and Rand Paul for standing up for things like this.
What deal? Take the deal, make deals, and actually work to lower tariffs. Look, we're at a fork in the road, and it's a real...
Lower or reciprocal?
Lower tariffs on both sides. Reciprocal. I'm saying reciprocal, but here's the fork in the road. What do you do once you announce these tariffs last week? One option, and the option that I hope and pray the president takes, is you've got countries beating a path to the White House saying, Uncle, let us up. We'll slash our tariffs. We'll slash our barriers to trade in exchange for you doing it. If the outcome of these tariffs announced last week is in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, we see tariffs slashed worldwide. We see the barriers to U.S. farmers and ranchers and manufacturers dropping enormously, and suddenly we're able to access other markets, and these tariffs drop here. That's a great outcome. President Trump has the opportunity for the most extraordinary economic win for the American people right now. The road.
Take what deal?
Take the deal, make deals, and act.
There we go. Judge Napolitano has got a point of view on that. He's going to join us here in less than 5 minutes. Support the Wake Up America show. Unlock that bonus content. Drop those Rumble rants. Or if you really love and support free trade, go to forlibertyshop.com. Buy yourself a box of Founding Flavors coffee, Calvin the Coolest President, Franklin's Electric Elixir. There you go. Or maybe today is a good day to just buy some guns. We'll be right back on the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's patriotic perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at apforlibertyshop.com.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant...
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. It's Wednesday, which means that our good friend, Judge Andrew Napolitano, will be joining us live here in just a moment. The global economy in chaos as red hat wearing MAGA leftists, not my term for them, their own term, MAGA leftists, seek to destroy the goose that lays the golden egg. And of course, Thomas Sowell, great man Thomas Sowell, said that wherever there is economic chaos, there must be a Harvard man in the middle of it. Peter Navarro, a Democrat for most of his life, someone who is proudly degrowth, at war with the apparently smartest and richest man in the world, Elon Musk, a war of words between them over international trade And of course, all of those things that make their way to our dinner plates, things like bananas, things that I feed my daughter, avocados, things that you feed your children as well, now at stake in this global trade war. Joining us now to discuss is the host of the very popular Judging Freedom podcast, my good friend. It's big brain time. All rise for Judge Andrew Napolitano. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning, Austin. Agreed entirely with you, as you know.
We all thought that the Federal Reserve was our biggest problem, Judge. We may have bigger problems than Jerome Powell.
Yeah, we may. We have a president who doesn't understand Economics 101, doesn't understand the federal laws, and doesn't abide the Constitution. We also have a Congress willing to sit on its hands and do nothing. So when Congress enacted the Economic Emergency Powers Act, man, as soon as something has the word emergency in it, you got to stop and take a very, very careful look at it. It said that if the president declared an emergency, would have the power to impose tariffs. It then defined an emergency as a sudden and unexpected event that adversely affected national security or economic prosperity. The original stated emergency was fentanyl. Then Trump's advisors informed him that 90% of the countries whose products he wanted to tariff, there's no evidence of fentanyl. Okay, then let's say the emergency is imbalance of trade. Well, we've had an imbalance of trade since 1934. By the way, that is acknowledged in the executive order itself. So how can that be a sudden and unexpected event? Answer, it isn't. Answer, there is no emergency. Without an emergency, the president, even under this unconstitutional, about which more in a minute, legislation, he doesn't have the authority to impose tariffs. Senator Rand Paul made this very argument on the floor of the Senate, and 50 of his colleagues, so it was a vote of 51-48, agreed with him. That, of course, is not enough to override a presidential veto, but there's more legislation making its way down the pike, introduced by a Democrat with 7 Republican supporters, and it may very well reach the 67 vote threshold. I don't know. In the House, they're so beholden to Trump that even though if you add the Democrats and the Freedom Caucus together, you have a substantial majority in the House opposed to the tariffs, but the Christian nationalists who run the House will not allow this to come to a vote. Question, can the Congress give away its power to raise taxes? Answer, no. That is a core function of the Congress, and it can't be given away. The Congress can no more let the president raise taxes than the president could let federal judges run the military. There are certain core functions unique to each branch of government that cannot be traded away even by consent without doing structural damage to the Constitution. That's where we are today. Structural damage to the Constitution by a president who doesn't know Economics 101. Without even getting into the economics argument, just making the legal and constitutional one, there is zero basis for what he did.
God bless you, Judge. God bless you, Judge Andrew Napolitano. There would be a much darker world without the very few friends of liberty that we do have. I even saw Senator Ted Cruz speaking out against the tariffs as if back from the dead, as if it were 2016 all over again. Our friend Senator Mike Lee coming out and in many ways, running the ball down the field for Senator. If you had told me that Senator Mike Lee would be running interference for tariffs if in 2016, I don't know if I would still be here today, because I probably would have felt so disillusioned from the fact that we have so few friends of liberty. It was him, Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, if you remember, back in 2016 when you and I produced that Tea Party Summit together with our friends at Fox Business. And now Charlie Gasparino out there saying that, admitting, Judge, and this is the political angle of this one, not the economic one necessarily, but this is actually warfare aimed at fellow Americans to punish them because they believe that it's rich Democrats who will suffer from these policies, not the average American Rust Belt worker that voted for Donald Trump. In other words, it's economic warfare against their fellow Americans. It's despicable, Judge. I wonder what your take on it is.
Well, Joe Sixpack will go to Walmart with his wife looking for a toaster for $30 and it suddenly costs $60, and maybe they don't have the money to pay for it. Or he'll go to a Ford dealership looking to buy a pickup truck, and the dealer says, well, it costs $3,000 more than we told you because of all the tariffs that the manufacturer had to pay for the parts that are in your truck, which are made in Canada, Mexico, and South Korea. Same thing with, I think you mentioned this earlier, bananas, avocados, anything that middle Americans, even poor Americans, eat on a regular basis that comes from another country. So Trump not having to run for re-election, although in his own mind somehow he thinks he can, but another story for another time.
Yeah, we're not.
Doesn't care about undermining his own base. And Charlie may actually be right. This may very well be some sort of a political gambit to punish people. But this is not what we elect the government to do. This is a perfect example of stay out of my bank book and out of my bedroom. But Trump is destroying people's bank books. $6 trillion in shareholder losses in a week and counting. And that idiot that we used to work with at Fox boasted yesterday, oh, we will soon have $1 trillion budget at the Defense Department. Can't wait to start spending all that money.
Judge, we've done this.
So the man of peace is not a man of peace, and the man of prosperity is not a man of prosperity. Yesterday, this case involving the Columbia University student, a federal immigration judge in Louisiana said to the government, where's your evidence? You don't have evidence by tomorrow. I'm letting him free. There's no case against him. This has become the cause celeb. This is the first person arrested and whisked away. And Caroline Levitt said the president's looking for ways to deport Americans. So these are Justice Sotomayor, of whom I'm fond personally and with whom I agree on civil liberties issues, but on few others, warned about this in a dissent yesterday. What was she dissenting from? An opinion the court didn't write. When the court overturned Judge Boasberg, who said you have to obey judicial orders and you can't deport when a judge says no, they simply overruled him without issuing an opinion. Justice Sotomayor dissented. Justice Kavanaugh said, well, when we were together, we all agreed that everybody's entitled to a hearing. That is a major setback for the administration. They want to deport 350,000 Venezuelans in the country. They need to have evidence against every single one of them.
Judge, we're about to get into what I would call ultra big brain time here on the show as we delve into the history of the economic history of the 19th and 20th centuries, especially because when you mentioned earlier the Christian nationalists in the Congress who would stand in the way of preventing Trump from having the emergency authority power to lay these tariffs, many people talk about Smoot-Hawley, but not many people are talking about the Tariff of Abominations of 1828. This was a very high protective tariff that became the law in the United States back in 1828. It was actually designed to fail. It was seen by free trade supporters. It was actually brought up by like the Rand Pauls of the day as a sort of a joke because it taxed everybody. It hurt everybody, right? It hurt both industry and farming back in the agrarian versus industrialist split. It was denounced in the South. It escalated to the threat of civil war, the nullification crisis, as you well know. The tariff was then replaced in 1833. But then, of course, before the Civil War, there was another tariff laid that the South, in part, rebelled for. Do you find some irony, Judge, in these Christian nationalists, in these MAGA leftists, I would call them, right? They're Bernie Sanders, but they go to church on Sunday. That's how I call them, right? The progressive Republicans. Do you find some irony in the fact that many of these being big, what they call the lost cause supporters, being, big fans of the Confederacy, right? And no matter how you feel about the Confederacy, but that they're the biggest tariff supporters. And yet many of them 6 months ago, if you had asked them what would have been a primary cause of the Civil War rather than slavery, they would have told us the industrial tariffs, the tariffs that were, the agrarian tariffs that were laid by the North on the South. And yet now, of course, the tariffs are good, despite their own reasoning for the historical reasons for the Southern secession. Do you find some irony in this? I know there's multiple layers on this, Judge, but you're the only person I can have these kinds of conversations with, so I'd like to get your thoughts.
Well, of course there's irony there. I mean, we're dealing with people that are so enamored with or fearful of Donald Trump that they're afraid to say the emperor has no clothes. So somebody close to him, maybe Ted Cruz, is going to have to say, you have no clothes. And this thing is going to be reversed because you're wreaking havoc on too many people. All those tariffs that you talked about were enacted by Congress. As unwise as they were economically, they were lawful and constitutional. The anti-federalist Congress, of course, abolished tariffs that had been enacted by executive decree by John Adams. Adams, of course, the earliest authoritarian in American history, he of the Alien and Sedition Acts. So are tariffs unwise economically? In my view, yes, because they're a form of central planning. Are they unconstitutional? Well, they are if enacted by the president. They're not if enacted by Congress. But everything you just said is a tawdry but accurate history of the United States of America. And it's people in Washington trying to centrally plan an economy. A centrally planned economy never works. They're the same people that like war. It's the same mentality. Listen to us when we know what's better for you than you know what's good for yourself. You don't need free choices. We'll make them for you. Buy the toaster at $60 instead of $30, and don't worry, its price will come down when we start making toasters 10 years from now. So if you can't afford the $60 toaster, wait until we start manufacturing them. I mean, this argument is just preposterous. It is the primacy of the government over the state. It doesn't recognize the natural moral rights that people have to make free choices by taxing choices that you make with which the government disagrees. So the answer to this is Congress doing the right thing. The answer to this is Thomas Massie and Rand Paul getting enough people on their side to stop this legally. Or there is one case of which I'm aware in Florida that was just filed 2 days ago by a small stationery company that buys its paper from China. And if a federal judge in Florida rationalizes, as you and I just have, and has the professional courage, that judge will invalidate the tariffs.
In that scenario, if a judge were to overturn it, I mean, wouldn't Trump just continue to do it anyway? I mean, he doesn't seem to be obeying other orders from judges, does he? I mean, does he have a good?
Well, then you have to start locking people up. You start with the whoever actually collects the tariffs or whoever actually imposes them. It might be the Secretary of Commerce. It might be the Secretary of the Treasury. You cannot have a society in which the executive branch ignores orders of the judicial branch. If due process is followed, the result is presumed to be fair and accurate, whether you like it or not. If the president can thumb his nose at a judicial order, can you imagine what the average criminal defendant in the average courthouse in the United States of America now thinks he can do?
Judge, I've been asking my friends to support free trade by going and making purchases at our shop. We've got your incredible collection over there as well. We made a Milton Friedman, There Ain't No Such Thing as a Free Lunch t-shirt, as well as There Ain't No Such Thing as a Free Lunch lunch bag. And I also see people are actually going to your merchandise shop this morning at judgenap.com and making purchases of your incredible Gadsden flag collection over there. It's due to the success of your incredible show, Judging Freedom, your podcast, which gets millions and millions of listeners a month, that these things have been occurring. We're building a counter economy in a way in the liberty community, and your show is the tentpole in many ways of libertarian podcasts that stand up for what's right, even when it's popular or unpopular. But you found a popular audience, Judge, for your ideas. It must be very exciting.
We did. Well, Thursday, which is the day after Trump announced the tariffs, Professor Jeffrey Sachs of Columbia University, who was a regular on my show on international matters, called me up from New Delhi, India, saying, I'm just beside myself over these tariffs. How about if we do a show on them? I said, Jeff, we're booked, but we'll find time for it this afternoon. And we did. 450,000 views. Sachs and I had a conversation like you and I have just had, blasting tariffs. He from the economic side, I from the legal and constitutional side. So my audience is large, active, and loyal.
Yeah, they are, Judge, and I'm really grateful to see it. I mean, the thing is, it's hard to stand up for these ideas, Judge. It's very difficult. I mean, you spent years and years on Fox News. Democrat president, Republican president, it didn't matter. You always stayed true north on liberty. And people threw rocks. I remember the 2 years that we were there. And, you know, I remember, I will never forget the day that Obama assassinated Osama bin Laden. I knew it was going to be a dark day because you came to me and told me that you were going to say this was an unconstitutional assassination without due process. And oh my God, I mean, can you share with our audience, because you told me these stories and I have them memorized, and people who have not had the luxury of hearing some of your conversations with Roger Ailes. I mean, it must. Did you get called into Roger Ailes?
No, I got called into Roger Ailes a lot, but not on that one. I think he actually privately agreed with me, and I did say it. And of course, it caused quite a stir, and the White House wasn't happy, and Fox management wasn't happy. But you have to be true. You have to be true to yourself. You know, if you have a contract, you're not going to get fired. They may take you off air for a while, as they did to me a few times, but not over this. It was a murder. He hadn't even been indicted for anything. There wasn't even an arrest warrant out for him. They just broke into his house and murdered him. And then they decided, oh, he wasn't the mastermind of 9/11. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed was.
When I'm looking at the chat this morning and following what people are saying, the conversations that they're having about this one, it just reminds me, Judge, about how Ronald Reagan, I don't know if you saw, China released a video of Ronald Reagan either yesterday or the day before, where he was talking about free trade and tariffs. Another conversation that Ronald Reagan inspired was one about how freedom is really never more than one generation away from extinction, which means that every decade, every generation that comes up, Judge, has to learn about what the tenets of freedom are before they can defend them. So in some ways, we're sort of being victimized by the victims of our public education system, are we not?
Well, we are. I mean, the government schools that most people in America have attended preach a version of history that is pro-government. Abraham Lincoln was the salvation of the nation. There is no such thing as states' rights. Show our respect for authority. World War I was a great war. World War II was unavoidable. I mean, this type of nonsense is the product of Woodrow Wilson created government schools in which the government's ideology is imbued into young people who then grow up and maintain that ideology. Every once in a while, there's a glimmer of hope, though. I mean, the military is having difficulty, notwithstanding Hegseth's boast about $1 trillion to waste, recruiting people, because who the heck wants to fight a useless war? Who wants to be a sitting duck? We have 90,000 American troops in the Middle East as sitting ducks, just waiting to be attacked. Who wants to spend their life or their career in that environment? I'm getting carried away here by veering off into the forever wars, and I only have about 3 or 4 minutes before I have
Sure,
to
Judge. Give
go.
us a preview of your upcoming shows.
Oh, I have Pepe Escobar from Yemen today, who will argue that the Hegseth assault hasn't laid a glove on the Houthis, and all they're doing is standing up for the Palestinians by preventing goods getting through to Israel. I'm not in favor of the violence, but I condemn the slaughter of civilians. Donald Trump himself posted a video of about 75 men on their way to a dinner to celebrate the end of Ramadan being bombed into oblivion. Phil Giraldi will be on about the threats to American citizens and Max by suppression of free speech by the DOJ. And Max Blumenthal will be on. This is one good thing that Trump did about the major disappointment Trump visited upon Prime Minister Netanyahu when he visited the White House on Monday. When he walked in, he thought he was going to talk Trump into bombing Iran. When he walked out, he was very disappointed. Trump said, "No way, we're going to negotiate first." And Netanyahu said, "They'll never sit down and talk with you." And Trump said, "It's already been arranged, courtesy of Vladimir Putin." So there's a side to Trump that I like, but there's a side that is extremely dangerous. And that part needs to be curtailed by the Congress.
Hopefully, Senator Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, and the few other defenders of liberty in Congress start to build a coalition before it's too late for those of us who rely on those goods and services every day to feed our families. Judge Andrew Napolitano, you're the host of the Judging Freedom podcast, a humongous mega hit show that you can download on any of your mobile devices. And of course, your column at judgenap.com. We appreciate you, Judge. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom for us. It just really makes people feel so much better in these dark times.
Thank you, Austin. All the best.
Thank you.
Losing money costs you nothing. This is just the reality of life. You're gonna, like, were you young and dumb? How much money did you lose? Everyone loses money. Everyone loses money. It costs you nothing. In fact, it builds quite a bit of character. In fact, you learn a lot of lessons, actually, by losing money. It's...
That's the message that I would, if I were a Democrat, that is the message I would put on every mainstream television network. I would run every Google ad. I would play that. I would play that over and over and over again. We'll be right back. Congratulations. You unlocked the bonus content. Thank you for supporting the Wake Up America show. Even though freedom isn't that popular right now, appreciate you standing up for it. We'll be right back. All right, folks. Fire up your flux capacitors and cue the Game of Thrones theme because science has officially gone full fantasy. The dire wolf is back. No, this isn't a promo for a new HBO spinoff. This is real life. A biotech company called Colossal Biosciences just announced they've brought the long-extinct dire wolf back from the dead, or at least something awfully close to it. They've named the new pups Romulus, Remus, and Khaleesi, because nothing says scientific breakthrough like mixing Roman mythology and pop culture in your gene editing announcement. So how did they do it? Well, first they dug up ancient DNA from a dire wolf tooth and skull, some of it 13,000 to 72,000 years old. Then they compared it to modern gray wolves, pinpointed the genetic differences, and used CRISPR. That's the gene editing tool of choice for sci-fi movies and real scientists, to engineer embryos with dire wolf traits. Big bones, broader heads, tougher coats, the works. Then they implanted the embryos into surrogate domestic dogs, because of course they did, and voila. Out come 3 genetically engineered wolf pups that could pass for extras on the Night's Watch set. Now let's pause for a moment here and ask the obvious question. Is this a good idea? Because somewhere right now Jeff Goldblum is whispering, your scientists were so preoccupied with whether they could, they didn't stop to think if they should. I'm not saying we're heading for Jurassic Park, but let's be honest, that's what this is starting to feel like. The people behind this project aren't stopping at dire wolves either. They've also got their sights set on woolly mammoths, dodos, and Tasmanian tigers. If you feel a theme park coming on, you're not alone. Now, to be fair, Colossal isn't just doing this for the cosplay. They claim the goal is to restore biodiversity, fix damaged ecosystems, and undo some of the harm humans have done to the environment over the centuries. That's noble on paper. But let's keep our eyes open. We're talking about reintroducing long-dead apex predators into modern ecosystems that no longer remember them. It's not exactly a plug-and-play situation. You can't just drop a dire wolf into the forest and hope it reads the room. Also, some scientists argue these aren't true dire wolves. Genetically, they're still mostly modern gray wolves, just ones that have been souped up with some Ice Age flair. It's kind of like calling a Dodge Charger with a spoiler and racing stripes a NASCAR. Still, whether you think this is brilliant or bonkers, you've got to admit, it's impressive. This is cutting-edge science. It's big, it's bold, and it might pave the way for breakthroughs in genetics, conservation, and even disease research. And hey, if nothing else, it's a strong argument against letting government regulate innovation too tightly. Because let's be real, if this had to go through the DMV of science approval, we'd still be waiting on a permit to clone a squirrel. So while we raise an eyebrow at the ethics, and maybe prepare for a worst-case scenario where a pack of mostly dire wolves starts trending on TikTok for chasing down drones, let's also tip our hat to what humans are capable of when we get curious, get clever, and maybe get just a little carried away. That's science. One minute it's penicillin, the next it's prehistoric predator puppies. And I mean, what could possibly go wrong? Thank you for supporting the Wake Up America show's bonus content program. We are truly grateful that you care enough to financially support this family-based podcast business.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian, and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government. Get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways? Do you believe that aliens controlled LBJ to assassinate John F. Kennedy? Did you know that the shot can put chemicals in you that will make you more sensitive to 5G? Do you love America? Do you want more freedom? Do you like smoking hot red-headed libertarians? Then the AP for Liberty shop is for you! Check out all the awesome new merch and have a happy new year! Fight the deep state, reject the Antichrist. Visit AP for Liberty shop and get your patriotic merchandise now, or the deep state wins.
As a member, hang on, I'm sorry, ma'am, but as a member of Congress, because I was just in D.C. on Monday for Trans-State Visibility, and I would like you, as a member of Congress, to rise up and support LGBTQ plus youth and stop this fucking insane attack on our children who know who they are.
Number one,
no. Of course you're not, because you're a fascist. You're a trace. You're a race traitor and you're a fascist.
I said I don't agree, and then you start yelling at me. You call me a fascist. You call me a race traitor, and you want me to agree with you? What are you talking about, ma'am? I'm a constitutionalist. Ma'am, I'm a constitutionalist. I believe in freedom and liberty for everybody. I believe in the U.S. Constitution. I believe in everybody's freedoms and rights. But if I don't agree, hold on. But when I don't agree with you, then all of a sudden I'm a fascist. That's what's wrong. If all you want to do is yell and scream and curse when I don't agree with you, I'm sorry, ma'am. You are now in the 20% of America.
You don't need to worry because you will never get my vote, and you don't live here.
I'm going to be your governor. Trust me.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
Oh, yes, I am.
No! You'd think the Democrats would be putting up some meaningful opposition. No, that's not what they're doing. This is what they're doing. The Democrats are, except for Jon Stewart, who has returned to form over at The Daily Show. There's no running to the left for any kind of sanity. There's nobody on the left who's talking sense. I'll say that there have been a few making good points, but they're all hypocrites because all they wanted was for Kamala Harris to be the one to destroy the American economy. You know what I'm saying? Like, they would have been doing the same thing Benny South Street Johnson was doing. Nobody losing money. Losing money would be good. This is what the Democrats would be saying if they were in charge right now.
Losing money costs you nothing. This is just the reality of life. Were you young and dumb? How much money did you lose? Everyone loses money. Everyone loses money. It costs you nothing. In fact, it builds quite a bit of character. In fact, you learn a lot of lessons.
Watch how we switch here. Now the parties will switch.
It's bloody Black Monday. Holy moly. The Kamala crash is here. Kamala needs to get in front of a camera today. People are losing their homes today. People are losing their fortunes today. People are losing their futures today. People are losing their 401ks today. This is shaping up to be one of the worst market days in American history. Losing money costs you nothing. This is just the reality of life. You're gonna, like, were you young and dumb? How much money did you lose? Everyone loses money. Everyone loses money. It costs you nothing. In fact, it builds quite a bit of character.
Fucking commie gobbledygook.
Thank you, Norm Macdonald. Good morning. Welcome to the Wake Up America Show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. Thanks for unlocking that sweet bonus content. I guess everybody loves the Milton Friedman "There's no such thing as a free lunch bags." Quest went and got one. You unlocked the bonus content. You're supporting free trade. You're supporting the Wake Up America Show. You're supporting my cute little sweet baby, Hazel Rose Peterson. I have to pull this up for you because I'm a dad, and it's my first time being a dad, so I'm going to brag about my child because I have all of your attention. Look at this beautiful redheaded baby right here. She's so stinking cute. Aww. Look at her with her hair poofing out here on the side this morning. She woke up a little bit early. And she's got her hair floofing out the side. This is what I'm going to be giving as a treat for their visual delight at the AP DC Liberty Tour this coming May 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Look at that baby. Somebody says, holy crap, that's you as a baby. Yes, she does look a lot like her dad, but she does have her mother's eyes. And she's got her mother's tummy, and she's got her daddy's booty, which is quite prodigious. Look at the floof here and then the floof there. She's smiling. If you haven't already liked the stream, you have to like it for the baby at forlibertyshop.com. You can support baby Hazel by getting a Milton Friedman lunch bag. My sweet wife Stephanie made this yesterday. It says, there is no such thing as a free lunch Milton Friedman lunch bag. There's also t-shirts and a mug. If you're a big Milton Friedman fan, then type in Milton over in the search. I think Milton will bring up the lunch bags. Milton, there we go. Milton Friedman lunch bags, Milton Friedman Tanstaffel shirts. Look, Milton Friedman actually modeled our shirt for us, which is amazing since he's been dead for years. How did we do it? Look at this. We even discounted. It's very, very cheap. Available for you at forlibertyshop.com. Where do they come from, Austin? Well, guess what? They're made in the same place where Donald Trump makes his shit, which is in Bangladesh. Yeah. Oh no, Austin, you support the Malaysians and not those Californians who charge you $45 so that they can afford to have money to go and commit child sex crimes in Hollywood. Oh no, Bangladeshis, no, how dare you? God, no. That's why we made it it's the cheapest shirt in the store. $22.99 to get this Milton Friedman Tanstaffel t-shirt. Comes in a variety of colors. And is the benefit of international free trade. And guess what? It supports America. It's pro-American because guess what? I'm an American. I have an American family. I'm raising an American child. Free trade is pro-America. Somebody says, on my small phone screen, Uncle Milt looked like Danny DeVito. It's made from real Milton Friedman. Psycho killer. Qu'est-ce que c'est? Have you visited the For Liberty shop and seen our Summer Freedom collection? Here's Ludwig von Mises modeling his Tuna Sede Malas men's tank top. If you're headed to the beach this summer, the Gulf of America, then get your Tuna Sede Malas t-shirt over at forlibertyshop.com. That's the number 4, libertyshop.com. Hit the Summer of Freedom collection. Click our Dread Pirate Roberts Gulf of America collection. Just click on it over there. You can see we've got an EU government tank top. We also have an EU tariffs tank top, thanks to Steffi. We've got a Javier Milei tank top, our retro neon firearm sandals, slides, all kinds of good stuff. Stephanie looks really sexy in this Wake Up America Racerback tank nightshirt. I'm not going to lie. Ladies, if you want your husband to get a little more frisky, the Wake Up America Racerback tank nightshirt can attest. I don't know why it on the model there. Maybe I need to get like a better modeling photo or something like that. I'm not putting my wife out there for you animals to look at, you dire wolves of horniness. But I will say just that, like, this doesn't seem like it's all that hot, ladies. But it actually is, especially if you've got the body for it. This model here that we found, unfortunately, is not like endowed. But if you've got a wife who's got a body, I know this seems a little explicit, but I don't know. I mean, I think this is a great way to sell it, to just tell you the Wake Up America. This is not from like the show Wake Up America, but where, you know, we got the idea for it. This is a World War I poster. Wake Up America, civilization calls for every man, woman, and child. Wake Up America, racerback, tank, nightshirt, très sexual. Get it at forlibertyshop.com. It's hot. I'm not going to lie. Steffi wears that, and I'm kind of like, va va voom. And it's available exclusively at forlibertyshop.com. Who wouldn't want to wear a nice little nightshirt? It says Wake Up America, which I think is really cute. So anyways, it's great. Looks great on your wife, and you can get, this is, see what this leads to? This can lead to this right there, see? And if you don't want to have children, if you don't want to have more babies, you're not interested. If you're not interested in having a little more of these, but if you'd like to have more of these little cuties, then this leads to this, which leads to happiness and joy. Steffi says, I love propaganda posters. I do too. That's why I got them all over. They're all over my office here. I've got German, American. I need to get I've got a Japanese one in the dojo where we work out. And I've got, the Corps of Engineers right there. Infanterie, Königin aller Waffen, Werdenkel, really good. The Soviet ones are actually really interesting. The one behind me is a Soviet propaganda poster from World War II. It says, kill the wolf. And it shows all of the bayonets and the guns from, I wonder if I can actually show it on the camera here with my thing. Hold on one second. Let me show you guys. Pull the GoPro out. Give you guys a studio tour real quick. So you can check that out. Yeah, see, so this is getting blocked out by the, there we go. You can see it. Yeah, pretty cool. It's hard to see it from there. You can see all my lights and my setup there. Let's see if I can turn this. Anyways, I think it's cool. But if you're into that kind of thing, production is moving forward on the Battle of Athens documentary. I don't know if you guys have been following this story, but for the last 2.5 years, I've been working on this documentary about the Battle of Athens, and we finally got everything together for the final shootout, the battle scene, which will be recorded June 19th, 20th, and 21st. I will be out of pocket those days. So the 19th and the 20th are a Thursday and a Friday. There'll be no Wake Up America show because I'm going to be playing the job of Hey Mr. Producer and Director and directing this violent battle scene from an insurgency, the last successful armed insurrection in the United States in 1946. And we are now casting, we still have several roles available for men in their early 20s to early 30s who are interested in joining us for this documentary film shoot, which will be in Boonville, Missouri, June 19th, 20th, and 21st. If you are interested in potentially playing a role in this, we don't have any crew roles available other than like volunteer PAs, production assistants, and things like that. So if you'd like to volunteer to help us out at the Battle of Athens, some people are coming out at their own expense to volunteer and to make it happen. We obviously could use as many volunteers as we can get. But of course, supporting the Wake Up America show is another great way to help support the documentary. If you would like to, if you're interested in being cast in a role, if you know a man who is in his early 20s to early 30s and convincingly, credibly play a World War II veteran, somebody who just killed a whole bunch of Nazis in Europe or Japanese in Japan, then I think that now would be a good time for you guys to get in touch with me, with Stephanie. But the best way to do it is to send an email to Brad at Stonegate LLC. That's Brad at StonegateLLC.com. I'm dropping his email there in the chat so you can spam him. Brad at StonegateLLC.com. We are going to have some background work, but the background work is unpaid. So will there be ladies in the show? Yes. Are we going to have to recruit heavily from locals because we can't afford to pay for their hotel rooms and for their all of that stuff? Yes. So if you are interested in unpaid extra work or unpaid volunteer work on the documentary, we have an unlimited number of people that we need for that, and you can hit up Brad. If you're looking for something that's an actual meaty role and you know someone, or if you are someone who could actually convincingly with gravitas play a role, then you can send your headshots, resumes to Brad at StonegateLLC.com. That's Brad at StonegateLLC.com. Austin, how do you spell StonegateLLC.com? That's StonegateLLC.com. One more time for those who might be writing it down. Brad at StonegateLLC.com. We are looking for actors. There are a few paid roles who are left. So please do visit please do email Brad, and we'll be glad to have your guys join us June 19th, 20th, and 21st for the battle scene of the Battle of Athens, which we are producing. We are now in production for. Send us a text if you'd like at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. We'd love to hear your thoughts on that and more. The show's almost over. Let's take a look at what the campaign ads for the next upcoming election will be.
Tariffs are literally a transition to these tariffs are literally a transition to the golden age. The man is negotiating, offering concessions to some countries. And you know what? If you want to retaliate, good luck to you, because Donald Trump is not panicked, and neither should we be, because he's bringing us to the golden age, Harold, and that's the end of it.
2 more days of this, and we'll be longing for the Biden day.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, yeah.
Trade, we already have a free trade agreement. We have a trade surplus. So getting the least bad, why did they get whacked in the first place?
We're addressing the $1.2 trillion deficit, the largest in human history that President Biden left us with. We should be running up the score in Australia.
Ambassador Clear, answer the question on Australia. We have a trade surplus with Australia. We have a free trade agreement. Why? They are an incredibly important national security partner. Why were they whacked with a tariff?
Senator, despite the agreement, they ban our beef, they ban our pork, they're getting ready to impose measures on our digital companies.
With your Greek letter formula, the fact that we have a trade surplus.
We have a global tariff on everywhere. We're trying to address the $1.2 trillion deficit that Biden left us with.
I think that answer, sir, you're a much smarter person than that answer. The idea that we are going to whack friend and foe alike, and particularly friends, with this level is both, I think, insulting the Australians, undermines our national security, and frankly makes us not a good partner going forward. The lack of trust from friends and allies based upon this ridiculous policy that goes into full effect at midnight tonight is extraordinary.
They're making the Democrats sound reasonable. This is the turning. This is the turning point. This is when Jon Stewart is funny again. I love seeing all these wealthy people on these television stations telling you that your money, it doesn't matter. Losing money doesn't matter. Everybody loses money. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. And it didn't have to hurt. It didn't. I know a lot of people are like, oh, we had to have a reset. Oh, okay. We had to have a great reset. Okay. Oh, okay. We're going to own nothing and be happy. Oh, well, okay. I thought we were voting for prices to go down, actually. I thought we wanted inflation to go down. Yeah, I'm not, I don't know what to say. I mean, if people aren't going to read books, right? If everybody feels their politics, right? The price of not getting involved, people, for those of you out there who are awake, right? Not woke, but who are awake, right? Because this is the Wake Up America show after all. The double entendre, I think. most of you got. But for those of you who are awake out there, first of all, let me just give it up for you. You took the time, right? You got the knowledge, right? Me, I've been cursed. I went to the Foundation for Economic Education. I took a master class in advanced Austrian economics, and that knowledge has been nothing but a curse. It's like that Bible quote that says, the wise man suffers while the poor man, while the stupid prosper. The wise man suffers, right? The more you learn, the more pain you experience, right? You are cursed with the fruit of the knowledge from the tree of good and evil, right? We all took a big fat bite, right? It's our original sin. We dared to crack open an economics textbook. It's time to read 2 books. If you read, if you don't read, but you're still interested, watch Animal Farm. Watch Free to Choose by Milton Friedman. If you're a reader, read Animal Farm, because of course you get a lot of subtext and nuance and details and things that have to get cut out in the movies. Read Animal Farm and read Free to Choose. Get a copy today. And if you've got a little one that you love, like my cute little sweet baby Hazel, get him a copy of Calvin, the Coolest President. Did Calvin lay tariffs? Yes. Was Calvin perfect? No. But I think it is important, instructional, for those to understand that Calvin Coolidge, of course, was the number 2 most libertarian president in U.S. history. Second, who was the most? Well, bad news. He was a Democrat. No! See you guys right back here again tomorrow. Enjoy the bonus content that you all unlock. Thanks for supporting us financially. We appreciate it, guys. If you haven't clicked the like button or the follow button yet, click that on your way out and exit through the Grift Shop. Go to forlibertyshop.com. Show you support free trade and the ideas of economic freedom. Economic freedom. Economic freedom. Go to forlibertyshop.com and buy yourself a Milton Friedman t-shirt, or there's no such thing as a free lunch bag, the layers of irony. And we'll see you guys right back again here tomorrow for a Royal Thirsty Thursday on the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network.
Losing money costs you nothing. This is just the reality of life. Were you young and dumb? How much money did you lose? Everyone loses money. Everyone loses money. It costs you nothing. In fact, it builds quite a bit of character. In fact, you learn a lot of lessons, actually, by losing money.
It's fire bloody up your flux capacitors and cue the Game of Thrones theme, because science has officially gone full fantasy. The dire wolf is back. No, this isn't a promo for a new HBO spinoff. This is real life. A biotech company called Colossal Biosciences just announced they've brought the long-extinct dire wolf back from the dead, or at least something awfully close to it. They've named the new pups Romulus, Remus, and Khaleesi, because nothing says scientific breakthrough like mixing Roman mythology and pop culture in your gene editing announcement. So how did they do it? Well, first they dug up ancient DNA from a dire wolf tooth and skull, some of it 13,000 to 72,000 years old. Then they compared it to modern gray wolves, pinpointed the genetic differences, and used CRISPR. That's the gene editing tool of choice for sci-fi movies and real scientists with dire wolf traits. Big bones, broader heads, tougher coats, the works. Then they implanted the embryos into surrogate domestic dogs, because of course they did, and voila. Out come 3 genetically engineered wolf pups that could pass for extras on the Night's Watch set. Now let's pause for a moment here and ask the obvious question. Is this a good idea? Because somewhere right now Jeff Goldblum is whispering, your scientists were so preoccupied with whether they could, they didn't stop to think if they should. I'm not saying we're heading for Jurassic Park, but let's be honest, that's what this is starting to feel like. The people behind this project aren't stopping at dire wolves either. They've also got their sights set on woolly mammoths, dodos, and Tasmanian tigers. If you feel a theme park coming on, you're not alone. Now, to be fair, Colossal isn't just doing this for the cosplay. They claim the goal is to restore biodiversity, fix damaged ecosystems, and undo some of the harm humans have done to the environment over the centuries. That's noble on paper. But let's keep our eyes open. We're talking about reintroducing long-dead apex predators into modern ecosystems that no longer remember them. It's not exactly a plug-and-play situation. You can't just drop a dire wolf into the forest and hope it reads the room. Also, some scientists argue these aren't true dire wolves. Genetically, they're still mostly modern gray wolves, just ones that have been souped up with some Ice Age flair. It's kind of like calling a Dodge Charger with a spoiler and racing stripes a NASCAR. Still, whether you think this is brilliant or bonkers, you've got to admit, it's impressive. This is cutting-edge science. It's big, it's bold, and it might pave the way for breakthroughs in genetics, conservation, and even disease research. And hey, if nothing else, it's a strong argument against letting government regulate innovation too tightly. Because let's be real, if this had to go through the DMV of science approval, we'd still be waiting on a permit to clone a squirrel. So while we raise an eyebrow at the ethics, and maybe prepare for a worst-case scenario where a pack of mostly dire wolves starts trending on TikTok for chasing down drones, let's also tip our hat to what humans are capable of when we get curious, get clever, and maybe get just a little carried away. That's science. One minute it's penicillin, the next it's prehistoric predator puppies. And I mean, what could possibly go wrong? Thank you for supporting the Wake Up America show's bonus content program. We are truly grateful that you care enough to financially support this family-based podcast business. Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at apforlibertyshop.com.